So I like that quote that you said that you are really a soil farmer and the lettuce is a byproduct. And so you mentioned earlier also that you do organic. So what all do you do to manage the soil? Like whether it's fertilizer or compost or whatever, like what all are you doing to improve that soil quality?
It's funny. It's what I'm not doing that actually makes the soil better. I don't till,
Okay.
which that's the biggest thing. Because when you till, you disturb all the soil is a living thing.
Hmm.
So when you till, you destroy that soil, and then it just dies. So that's the biggest thing. Two, I always not always. I try to always have a living root in the ground
Okay.
because the living root is what feeds your soil. You don't feed your soil with fertilizer. You feed it with a living root so photosynthesis can happen, and then it exudes all these stuff through the roots so the soils can eat. So the things in the soil can eat. Third thing is, excuse me, I had worm castings. There's a guy down in north of Houston called the Magic Worm Ranch, and he has the highest worm castings in the country, if not the world, by testing. They're the highest in every single category: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all of those. His is the highest because he's figured out what to feed the worms. And he needs to make a shirt that says "What goes in the front comes out the back."
I like that.
Whereas
Okay.
a lot of people that do like worm castings, they feed them newspaper or cardboard or wood
Mm.
chips. Whereas this guy feeds them some blend concoction that he's come up with of tea bags and soured milk and this perfect thing concoction, so you get the highest nutrients. And I've been with him. I've been buying from about 1,000 pounds every spring and 1,000 pounds every fall,
Okay.
and that's my only fertilization that I use.
Really?
I might put a little bit of soybean meal because that's a high in nitrogen. It's organic, of course. In a new lettuce bed that doesn't have that biology yet,
Hmm.
if I make a new bed, but that's really about it. So there's other things that you can do, but those are the three main things that I do.
So what about on the pesticide side of things? Like I know you've got like a lot of high tunnels and stuff. So what do you do on that side of it?
So there's a couple of things. First thing is always having a living root in the ground. I
Hmm.
always have different things that attract insects. And I don't know if you know who Gabe Brown is.
No.
He's a regenerative soil expert. And he always says there's 1,700 good pests to one bad pest.
Okay.
And insecticides kills all those pests. So what I try to do is bring in all the good pests to eat the bad pests. It works to an extent. The biggest problem that I have I call them caterpillar worms,
Hmm.
uh, cabbage worms maybe. They get down in my lettuce and they eat the lettuce. And the only thing that really works is just to cut them off and start over.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's not that big a deal because it only happens for a couple weeks in the spring and a couple weeks in the fall, if you get them. And once you get them, just cut your losses, replant, and get started again. And by then, here in Texas, it's too hot,
Really?
or we get a cold spell in the fall because we always get a real early cold snap, and it'll kill them. They're kind of sensitive to the heat. And
Okay. And so picking them up, that's an example of mechanical control, right? Like if you see it starting there, you just pick up the plant a new one there.
yeah. Also, let me clarify. So when I always cut it off, I don't
Mhm.
pull a plant. I never pull a plant out of the ground.
Okay.
I cut it off, leave that root system so that it can. Because after you cut a plant off, those roots will still not live, but they'll still do its job for another couple, 3, 4 weeks, and then it decays and gives your soil organic matter. So that's one thing. But so I'll cut it off, and then I'll remove my drip tape, and I'll flame weed it with a blowtorch. Have you seen a flame weeder before?
Yeah, I have seen those. Those are pretty sweet. I love like the ones for like a tractor where they
Yep.
have like 20 nozzles on the back, and it's so cool. I love it. It's very medieval.
Yeah. Especially have you seen the videos of them at night?
No.
Those are so cool because all you see is this flame, and you're like, "What the hell is that?" And then they kind of zoom in, and you see it's on a tractor. But I just have a handheld $30 one from Lowe's that I've had for 6 years. So I'll go in there and I'll flame weed it,
Hmm.
Kill anything that's on the top of the soil in case some of the worms fall off and fall in the soil. They don't get on the new lettuce plant.
That's not bad. And then will you leave that weed there, like after it's been burnt to decompose and go into the soil?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And does that have any impact on? I mean, I imagine once it's burnt, it's not going to regrow again. I mean, are there some weeds that might regrow after you burn them?
Yeah, but then the key to weeds is when you see the very first thing, just pull it. Like,
Really?
don't be like,
Okay.
I'll get it tomorrow, because between today, you're going to forget tomorrow, and then the next day you won't see it, and 4 days later it's the size of an oak tree, and then you got a big problem. So every day I'll take a quick walk down the paths and just pull out what I see.
Gotcha. And I can imagine that, some people might say, well, oh, you're a smaller farm. It's probably easy for you to control weeds, but I'm sure it's not. Like you said, that's probably a daily thing. You've got to make sure that, you don't have a weed outbreak because you've only got like a certain percentage of farmland.
No, that's exactly right. And I will say one other thing about the no-till.
Hmm.
No-till helps with that too, because if you till, you take any weed seed that is on top of the ground and you put it into the ground. Whereas if the seed sits on top of the ground, more than likely it's going to dry out or get burned up by the sun, just being too damn hot here or whatever. And if it does root, literally there's 2 roots set on top of the ground that suck in nutrients. So it's the easiest thing to pull. Whereas if you till, you put the seed a foot in the ground, now you've got this root that you got to pull that's long. So no-till helps with weed prevention tremendously also.